What up? How's it going, guys? It's Philip with Boelter Design Co. And just last week I had asked everyone if they would ask questions or had any questions for me and that I would get back to you on YouTube. To start things off, I want to say thank you. Why don't you hit that subscribe button here on YouTube? That way I could get a little bit more vlogging going and hopefully get more tutorials to you. Thank you for also posting some of the questions. I have so many questions that come to me daily, and they're the usual like same questions about brushes, watercolor paper. I'm gonna jump into my Instagram right now. First question is, how long have you been painting? I have been painting since I was a kid. I don't quite remember, probably elementary school. I don't know if it was 3rd grade or 4th grade. The first things I do remember is actually starting out illustrating. And as a young kid, you just want to get in there and you want to take a paintbrush and you want to start painting. But what they did was teach me how to draw first. And then from there, I did charcoals and I did pastels and then acrylics and then oils. And it was quite the process as a young kid to have to learn those disciplines and methods before quite getting to where you wanted to be. And I feel like that is for any age out there. People ask me, you know, what's the best thing to do to get into art? And I always try to tell them that same process, you know, like draw every day in a sketchbook and then maybe take up some charcoals, because those are actually quite cheap and inexpensive ways to actually do your art. And then once you get into more of the paintings, those disciplines that you learned with drawing are just going to translate over into your paintings. Why do you prefer watercolor? I don't quite prefer watercolor. It's just maybe a preferred method that I like to do at home, just because it's easy to take out and put away. Usually I have just like little pieces of paper about this big, or watercolor blocks, and then I have all my brushes and I have all my paints, and I can just take them out daily and put them away without having to create a mess. I typically do all my painting in the living room or on the dining room table, so I don't like leaving a mess out for my wife or even for my dog. So it's probably the preferred method right now until I get like a larger art studio. Is this your sole income? No, this is not my sole income. I'm actually a graphic artist during the day, and then I become, you know, an artist at night as far as like drawing and illustrating. It's kind of my outlet away from the computer, and it gives me an opportunity to use my hands in a different way than doing like vector arts or doing something for the web. Do you find that you paint what you love or paint what you know people will buy? I paint what I love, and I hope that all of you do the same. I don't think it's right to paint something that like you're hopefully gonna have someone purchase if you don't love what you're painting. So what I like is I've always drawn flowers, and I've always painted flowers, and if it's something that someone loves enough to buy, then that means so much more to me, because I actually put my love into the art piece rather than just doing it to attract someone's eye. How do you afford to live in California? Well, I don't really choose to live in California, other than I feel like I have to live in California because I'm like a 4th or 5th generation Angelino, and I grew up here in Southern California. So for me, it's not about affordability, but it's about the love that I have around my family. And this is where I met my wife, and her family's here. So I don't ever see us actually moving out of Southern California. Did you go to school for art? Yes, I did go to school. Like I said, I went to school when I was very young, and then I took classes through high school and took classes in college as a graphic design major, shortly switching over to advertising. And then when I got my bachelor's degree from San Diego State, I decided to go back for art school and new media design, and that's how I became a graphic artist. So I got my bachelor's of fine arts from AAU in San Francisco. Do you paint in a studio or outside? I paint in my house, which I love to call that it's my studio in a way, because I'll paint anywhere around the house, whether it's on the walls or on the dining table or the coffee table or on my desk here. I prefer outside. I think there's something about painting outside and seeing the natural landscape where there's a zen moment where you just kind of get one within your art. And being outside with nature, it's a better experience, and I think it means more to actually paint what you're actually seeing. So what's the most discouraging thing for an artist? I'd have to say The most discouraging thing for an artist is the cost to be an artist. It is so expensive to buy anything out there that you want to use, and there's so much stuff. There's so many different types of paints, and you just, as an artist, you just want to open up and use everything that's available to you. It's kind of like you have to be nitpicky with what you find out there, because you only have so much money every week or paycheck or whatever, and you just want to buy it all. But I think what's also discouraging about it is if you're an acrylic painting, you've invested so much money into it, it's very hard to switch over to oil painting, because all that money could be going to new acrylic paints or colors that you would, but now you're gonna have to like go back and buy all the oil paints or the watercolor paints. And I've actually come into that when I went, I was using a lot of Winsor & Newton watercolors, and then I decided to switch over to Daniel Smith, and now I have like just a plethora of the same type of colors of watercolor, but different brands. What would be your greatest art accomplishment, either currently attained or in the future? Currently, my biggest art accomplishment was my past solo art show that I had. It's just the amount of work and effort that you put into a solo show. It's something that I've always dreamed of, and then when it came true, it was pretty amazing, and the feeling is really cool, but it keeps you driving towards that next one. For the future, I just hope I leave behind like a name like any other artist would, so when someone purchases a painting, they know exactly that artist and who he was or she was. This is actually a really good question I just got. So I really like painting on watercolor, but I've always wanted to do it on a canvas. Do you know some sort of canvas suitable for watercolor? And if not, what would you recommend to use on canvas for beginners? Thank you. Well, first of all, I don't recommend watercoloring on canvas. It's not going to stick as well as maybe like an acrylic or oil, and it's really not meant for watercolor at all. I recommend, if you do want to use something like a canvas, just to get some really large sheets of cold press paper. That way, well, first of all, they're cheaper than a canvas, and you're not wasting a large piece of canvas for your watercolors. And I mean, you can get different types of watercolor paper that are huge, like the cold press, like I said, or the heavier weights. The one reason I wouldn't use it on a canvas is because, like I said, it's not gonna stick as well. If you're going for a watercolor look on a canvas, I suggest using acrylics and have a spray bottle next to you with water. That way when you're painting with the acrylics, you can spray with water on there to get some of those drippy effects if you're looking for that. If you're looking for some of that water effects. And I've done it before in the past with acrylics, and I've had a couple water bottles next to me that I would actually put some paint in there and kind of spray it. That way it gave this really nice effect on my canvases. It would give like kind of that spray look, and I'd even do it enough that it would kind of drip down. And then I used a paint pen over it, which was pretty cool. Would you like to try computer graphics? And I try computer graphics every day because I'm a graphic artist. It seems like you just like being with the cactus. If preferred, what else would you paint? I've said this kind of before, and I've tried this lately, but I would love to do more water painting, or paintings of water or ocean or something like that, because I live right here next to the beach, and I think it would be an awesome thing to start doing a lot more of, is getting out there and start just painting a lot more of the ocean. Yeah, I think that might be it. All right, guys, well, thank you for your questions. It means a lot to me. If you ever have any more questions, feel free to hit me here in the comments below or on my Instagram at Boelter Design Co, and I try to get back to every single person. I appreciate all your questions. Thank you. And if you don't mind, subscribe below. I hope to do a little bit more tutorials coming up here in 2018, as well as vlogging and more tips, techniques, and everything watercolor, acrylic, illustration from me. I appreciate it. Thank you again.